Hello, folks. This is KW Wayne on Detroit Tiger Talk. And today we are going to once again talk about the trade deadline. If the Tigers front office believes that this is not a team that should sell at the trade deadline, they have committed malpractice, and Scott Harris should be fired for not thinking that this team needs to trade. They do need trades. They need people for the future, but they also need a couple players that can help them out this year. They have a very bad bullpen, and they have an awful situation in the offense. Now, some nights they show up and some nights they do not. Last night was not a bad night for the offense. Unfortunately, the pitching couldn't get out of its own way, and this is what's going to happen. Let's face it, if the 2006 and the 2012 Tigers teams, which were loaded offensively, they were loaded pitching-wise, and everybody that was on that team was pretty good. If they can't win a World Series, and both of those teams were in the World Series, one of them got swept, and I don't recall what the other team did, whether they won a game or two in the World Series or not. But the fact is that this Tiger team is not even close to either of those teams. And even though they may be able to do well in the playoffs as far as the American League is concerned, there is no way on God's green earth that they will ever get past the ALDS. To think that this team could make it to the ALCS is absolutely ridiculous. And what they need to do, they've got some players that are not going to be here next year. They've got a few players that may be signed up for next year, but if they could get anything for them, they may want to consider it. Now, they don't really need to go out and trade a lot of players. They just need to get some different players. Now, if they want to hold on to, say, Finnegan and trade Jansen, that would be great. Maybe they can get somebody in the bullpen that might be able to catch a spark and do a little something. A lot of times these teams are playing so hard to try to get to where they want to go that they lose perspective. And a lot of times they get to the point where they just simply cannot make it work because they're just trying too hard. We saw in 2024 when they traded 4 or 5 guys, all of a sudden the young guys came in. They didn't think they had anything to play for, and the next thing you know, they're going to the ALDS. Yeah, they lost it in 5, but they took it to the last game. Last year was supposed to be a better year. They took it to the last game in the ALDS. They didn't make it to either championship series in either of those seasons. Is it going to happen this year? No, they're not going to get past the ALDS. They might not even make it to the playoffs because they're simply too weak. Yeah, they're going to get some players back off of the injured list, but in the meantime, they need to find some people for the future. If they want to win and get into the playoffs in 2027, 2028, and 2029, 2030, the only way they're going to do it is if they manage to get some players for Skubal. They may have decided they're not going to re-sign Casey Mize. Well, if they're not going to re-sign him, trade him too. Now, he's had some up and down years over the last several. He's had some injuries and so on. Who knows? Maybe they offer him 17 or 18 mil for 6 years, 108 million for 6 years. Maybe he takes it. At the end of that time, he would be about 35 years old. that probably wouldn't be a bad deal. I mean, heck, if they're going to give Flaherty and some of these other pitchers that they're giving 15 and 17 mil to, Casey Mize should be worth 17, 18 mil. Make the offer and see what happens. If he resigns, well, you got him for another 5 or 6 years. You know, don't put any no trade clauses in there so that you can trade him at some point in time. Because who knows, maybe you're going to be in another situation like you are this year. Detroit needs to start bringing up some of the young guys. Getting rid of some of the older guys that aren't going to do anything may not be the end of the world. Maybe letting guys who are at the lower rung, who are not going to be here most likely next year, let them go. Bring in Clark, maybe bring in Anderson and some of these other guys, and let's see what they do. And we'll see what happens. Maybe with the pressure off, this team will actually make it to the playoffs. I would love to see them make it to the playoffs. I'd love to see them get back into the ALDS, win it or lose it, who cares? At least they made it. But the way things are right now with the pressure that they have to worry about, oh, is Skubal going to be traded? Is Skubal not going to be traded? That's totally ridiculous. If Scott Harris thinks that Skubal shouldn't be traded, if he thinks that they don't need what he would offer in a trade for the next few years, well, then he's probably never going to take this team to a World Series, and because he's not going to do that, why keep him around? Find somebody else. Jeff Greenberg, or whatever the man's name is, maybe it's time for him to take over and see what he can do. But I don't think that people are real happy with some of Harris's decisions. Last year, he got rid of a few low-level prospects and he brought in a bunch of people. And with the exception of Kyle Finnegan, really nobody else really worked out. And it's a sad day in Detroit when the Detroit Tigers can't get out of their own way. I like the Detroit Tigers. I've been a fan since the beginning of the 1960s. This is my 65th or 66th year of rooting for this team. And it was my grandfather that got me interested in these guys. And by golly, I'm going to continue to be interested in them. I like them better than any other team, not only in baseball, but in any sport. They are my team. They'll always be my team. But I believe that if they don't see the writing on the wall, Scott Harris should be the one that has to answer for that. They need to get somebody in here that is willing to do the job and do it correctly. I don't dislike Scott Harris. I just think that he has a way of doing things that's a little bit, well, stupid. Okay, let's just say it. This is KW Wayne. This is Detroit Tiger Talk. And you folks have a great one.